till it's about shooting out a bunch of black like that. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Row Access. I'm out here working on my welding bed and just cutting some things up. Put together a couple videos just now on just a couple different things I was doing, but I just realized I never really did a video on how to set up your cutting torch. Now, again, I've kind of learned from random people. Last time I used the torch before now was probably 10 years ago, as far as when I became a helper again. But it was kind of one of the harder things it took for me to learn, and it finally started clicking for me. So I just wanted to kind of bring some tips to you guys. For me, it was hard just to understand exactly what the purpose, what you were looking for, and it's the same thing with welding. People just tell you to look at the puddle, but you don't really know what you're looking for. And so I wanted to bring a little bit of insight to that with your setup. As far as the cutting torch goes, your red hose is your fuel hose for acetylene, the green hose is your oxygen. Wally actually has quick connects on his. You got the two valves down here. One says F, one says O. The threads are backwards, so they're left-handed threads on the acetylene. So when you're going to put it on the hose onto the bottle or put the stuff onto the torch, it is going to be the opposite direction. So there is no righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. But so you have the two knobs down here. One's marked F, one marked O. So fuel and oxygen. Then you have this is your main valve for your oxygen. So that's what mixes it into the tip. And so to get it started, you want to hook your bottles up, turn them all the way on. Your regulators, you have one for fuel, one for oxygen. For your acetylene, you want to be in the less than 12 PSI range, so on some gauges, it'll tell you you can cut in this area, you can weld in this area, because you can oxy-fuel weld also. But, so for cutting, you want to be probably in the, I don't know, normally I try to run a little higher, so like 8 PSI up to around 12, somewhere in that range. And then anywhere up to 100 on the oxygen side. You're going to do all your fine adjusting right here on the knobs, but if you're feeding it at an erratic rate, it's just going to not make it easy to cut. So to get started, this handle right here is what introduces the excess oxygen to blow through. So when you're cutting, you create a cut puddle, so it heats up the metal and starts melting it in a little section. And then when you press this, it starts feeding high pressure oxygen to blow all the slag and material down, and that's what produces the cut. But to get started, you want to kick on your fuel. You'll hear it coming out a little bit. Your striker, you want to hit it. And so normally I back it all the way down till it's about shooting out a bunch of black like that. You can kind of see, and it's just barely puffing out. So on your main line down here, you want to kick your oxygen on pretty wide open, like not all the way open, but get a good range on it so it is producing gas. And then you fine adjust everything here with the top. Now, for me, it took a long time to finally learn that fine adjustment of getting the oxygen kicked on, and I was just, if you cut it on too fast, it'll just blow it out. So, turn it off, kick it back on, slowly turn that oxygen on, and it will start to see. So, I'll probably flip the camera around, but you see that blue flame now? You see these little tiny, there's a big long blue flame, and I don't know if you can see it on this camera, but there's some small spikes down there. And those are where the oxygen is first coming out of the tip. And so you want to produce oxygen. You obviously hear the jet sound coming out. Let me try to get closer down to the camera. But as you turn it up, the spikes will start to get longer. And then you start hearing this noise where it's really just kind of loud. And you can see one of the spikes is actually starting to just start flopping around, and it's not producing a solid spike. So you want to turn it up to that point. Turn it up to that point. And then turn it back just a little bit. And that's about as hot as you're going to be able to get it. You're going to have these really bright blue, baby blue looking color spikes. And then you want to slowly introduce the high pressure side and make sure it doesn't go out. Now when that's on, you can still adjust the oxygen a little bit. If you do it too much, it's going to go out. But as you introduce that extra oxygen, you just want to make sure that your spikes are staying about the same length. There's going to be a longer blue flame that you can kind of see. I don't know if, yeah, you can see it here. So that long blue flame, when you're on the high pressure, is going to disappear down. And that's okay, but you just want to make sure that those spikes are actually still light blue. All whatever, how many there are, 2, 4, 6, all 6 of them are still lit up. You don't want them to be going out or anything like that, or starting to do that little flutter action. You're not going to get a clean cut. And so if you are getting that no matter what, you probably want to clean your tip and make a little kit. You can buy it from wherever your tool supply store is. For me, it's general air, and it almost looks like guitar strings. And so they have them from almost so small you can't see it up to the bigger sizes, and you can just basically feed it through. And then what I do is kick on the oxygen on the bottom valve, the main valve, and then use that high pressure to start blowing some of that dust back out. If that doesn't help, you can take the tip off right here using a crescent wrench, pull the tip out. Maybe it's time to clean the tip. You can blow it back through, knock some of the dust out on the table, but whatever. But I just want to do a quick little tutorial on how to operate a cutting torch. Like I said, real quick, I normally turn the fuel off first, so when I have it running, just to save the fuel, just even for that little bit of second, it's going to go out because the oxygen's not going to burn on its own, and then you shut off your oxygen. Make sure you cut it off both at the top and at the bottom so you don't leak it out. And then if you're done cutting, go out and turn your bottles off on the truck or wherever you have them. To save you a lot of headache, your welder's probably going to beat your tail if you use this for anything other than cutting. So it's not a hammer, it's not a coat rack, don't hang it. These things are expensive. So I'm in the used market to find a cutting torch, but they make them in big sizes, make them in little sizes, depends on what you're doing. I prefer using the smaller one just because it's easier to finesse. I'll do another video on learning to cut and stuff like that. It's a little bit tedious. I'm definitely not the best at it, but anyhow, I just want to do a quick video. I know, like I said, when I first started, especially trying to use the beveling machine, that's a lot easier because obviously you're only operating the handle as far as staying in the cut, and I'll talk about that in the next video about the cutting. But doing it by hand is a little bit different, and getting steady is just practice, practice, practice. So the cuts that I just made just now look way better than the ones I made 6 months ago, and I definitely don't use a cutting torch enough to get super good at it, but I used it on my bed here. I cut off my spare tire hitch with it, spare tire holder. But yeah, so I just wanted to give a quick video on how to operate a cutting torch. Hope you guys found it useful. And if you did, like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.